Son, what does a gopher build? Can you say it? Well, who knows? A really rich doctor said you were a bummer. And I think you don't know algebra. No, we're talking science, bud. The science of what? Is that a tiger? One of your friends promised me I could flick you in your face. Absolutely, you may not do that.
Hit him in his cringy smirk, for real.
Say any cereal name. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You're like people in the 12th century. Why'd he say it like that? You're a formulated pickle popper.
He's a storm cloud.
I don't like you, dude. And there's a tiger. Oh, that's it. You two guys sent the tiger.
I did not me.
What? Tiger? That is reprehensible.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Brad?
I'm a horrible person.
Brad, I'll report you to Nadine. I just want your leg bones to be okay. I brought the tiger. Really, you got somebody on the organ now? Hey man, you're gonna pay for dinner. You're gonna pay. No!
Now, we don't know if that actually happened, but with the level of intelligence gradually going down in the United States, that's probably what happened. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and we have a plethora of absolutely shocking and crazy news to get into today, as of course there is a lot of global instability to talk about specifically that's happening right now in Brazil. There's also a lot of it happening in many other places, and in this video we're going to be giving you an update about what's happening here domestically inside of the United States, but predominantly focus on what else is happening everywhere else around the world. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, and the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was done by I don't know who. It's a brilliant video that I first saw shared on Instagram, and if you know the person who did this, please let us know down in the comment section below so we could attribute them correctly in our description and more people could find their work, because it is absolutely brilliant. And hey, lip reading is a very important skill that a lot of people should know, especially with all the censorship that's happening on the internet, especially with the latest information that we're getting from the Louisiana Attorney General that just released the information and emails between the White House and Facebook along with Google, specifically with the White House Director of Digital Strategy, Rob Flaherty, writing an email to Facebook complaining that there were some people there questioning the authority of the federal government that is acting like the marketing arm of Big Pharma right now. And Rob Flaherty specifically brought up hesitancy for a procedure along with mainline corporate commentators like Tucker Carlson and Tommy Loren, specifically complaining about them and lobbying to have their voices censored on Facebook, with the Attorney General of Louisiana releasing the documents on his Twitter, a platform where, of course, we still now have the ability to at least speak freely for now because of Elon Musk, with this Attorney General specifically saying, quote, "We now have evidence that President Biden's administration colluded with social media companies to censor different viewpoints and silence misinformation that was later deemed true." This, of course, highlighting a clear violation of the First Amendment, with the federal government demanding legal speech be censored on their behest because they didn't like what people were saying. These are the actions of would-be dictators that surely, if they get their way more often, will be abusing their powers. And as the federal government is spending your taxes and their resources on silencing political speech, along, of course, with other mainline medical doctors and studies that they don't approve of, today we're finding out that the DOJ might not have enough resources to go after Sam Bankman-Fried, as the prosecutors in that case are specifically telling lawyers that the investigation of him could, quote, exhaust resources, showing you that those potential bribes, donations, could have actually worked by Sam Bankman-Fried, that of course mysteriously fell into a lot of money. This, as of course, it's also important to note that the first actions against misinformation came against the, quote, alleged Russian collusion in the 2016 presidential election, which the Washington Post just admitted today was absolutely based on a farce, with their latest piece that is titled, quote, "Russian trolls on Twitter had little influence on 2016 voters." But don't worry, America. Don't talk about how corrupted, inept, and absolutely horrible your government is, especially when it comes to wasting your money, not punishing actual criminals, and of course investigating people who think differently than they do. Don't worry about that. We have the latest divide and conquer topic to, of course, discuss, and that, of course, is obesity. As a TikTok influencer now is complaining because a ranch wouldn't allow her to ride a horse because of her weight. Her weight, by the way, was over 240 pounds. And for the corporate media now to get active, to get engaged with this specific talking point, just shows you how much of a reality idiocracy actually is in our modern times. With the main issue that a lot of people are talking about is a big lady wanting to hurt horses. And the corporate media is on the big lady's side. This, as it's also important to note here that a lot of major establishment institutions in the United States actively not only encourage obesity, but of course help facilitate it, especially when it comes to many of the government grants, when it comes to corn, soy, big pharma, intervention, and of course normalcy of fat acceptance. Meanwhile, CBS News perfectly represents this decline to idiocracy with their latest piece that reads, quote, "Children struggling with obesity should be evaluated and treated early and aggressively, including with medications for kids as young as 12 and surgery for those as young as 13. This according to some vague new guidelines that were released here, and I would say, hey, how about we change that kid's diet? How about we allow them to exercise? How about we prioritize actually healthy lifestyles rather than just shoving down pills down a kid's freaking mouth hole? Can we at least have a conversation here about the food industry and how it's poisoning our entire country, as there's nearly over 30 plus foods that are banned in other countries that are still allowed here in the United States, as big pharma, big agriculture, with their seed oils, with their glyphosate, with their high fructose corn syrup, is absolutely ruining and destroying people's health, as the White House isn't calling for any changes surrounding those particularly important areas. They're telling you about how you need to take a medical product that, of course, they censor people online and destroy their free speech when they dare question it. This is what it looks like to be controlled by utter freaking lunatics. I got a lot more to say about this, and I'm going to be saying it later on today on LukeUncensored.com, our own platform where we get to say and do what we want. And there's a lot of videos, a lot of topics of important issues that we just simply cannot talk about here on this particular broadcast. So we're going to be saving that conversation specifically for later on today, where also we will be continuing our AMA and talking to you guys directly, all of that, plus a lot more, answering your questions one-on-one later on today, right after this video, actually, on LukeUncensored.com. See you there right after this video, as of course we are still not done here, as there is a plethora of absolutely crazy news happening internationally that sadly a lot of people in the United States are not privy to. Well, of course, except for if it works in the larger foreign policy objectives of the U.S. State Department, then of course we do hear about some of the unrest, like the unrest happening in Iran, where a lot of people are being executed right now. This, as in Canada, they have their own legally assisted form of execution, which many mainline Canadian doctors are now bragging about. With one Canadian doctor specifically coming out on the corporate media and saying that, quote, "It's the most rewarding work we've ever done," specifically when it comes to, quote, euthanizing 400 people. This, as of course the Canadian government has been offering assisted euthanasia for people who can't get mobility scooters. This, as of course, this greatly benefits the Canadian government, as they have an over-bloated free healthcare system, and a government controlled by many World Economic Forum individuals that believe that there's too many people in this world. In Ireland, another government hijacked by the World Economic Forum, they are now announcing that they're going to be offering asylum to people because of the temperature change. Yes, you heard that correctly. This has Sri Lanka, a government that has fully complied with the World Economic Forum, did everything that they wanted them to do, implemented all of their woke diversity agendas, as Yahoo News is reporting that the protests against that failed leadership and the hijacking of their government is gone for now, as of course the prospects of extended daily blackouts loom again, along with major insecurity issues when it comes to their food supply, disruptions with their transportation, and schools, while life becomes more and more unaffordable for the average person living there. This, as the government there is also planning on a steep tax hike that of course will steal more money from some of the poorest people there. This, as in France, there's also continued large protests against the increasing cost of living for the average person there. This, as of course these major protests aren't really talked about on the US corporate media, and I believe they definitely do deserve a lot more attention, especially since there's going to be some significant economic problems coming our way, which will be correlated with a larger amount of instability in our society. This price chart is not of Bitcoin, it is of eggs that have been also dramatically going up here in the United States. And I think it's very fair to project there's going to be a lot of global and societal instability coming our way, with, of course, much larger financial problems that are also coming our way very fast and very quick. This is, of course, something that we've warned about for a very long time, and if it's not just economic problems coming our way, it's also political problems, as in Peru. There have been a massive amount of civil unrest, political leadership changes, and clashes in the streets, as the former president of that country was just officially removed and detained. This highlighting very similar instability to what's happening right now in Brazil, where it looks like there might have been a glitch in the matrix, and now Brazil has even their own horned man, as over 300 people were just arrested in Brazil as they stormed government buildings and facilities just yesterday in Brasilia. These are specifically Bolsonaro supporters that on January 8th stormed government buildings, demanding, of course, that the military of Brazil intervene and specifically reinstate the former president of that country, Jair Bolsonaro, who, of course, with the way that the Brazilian government is set up to run and operate, could potentially actually happen, as of course it's not rare that in South America the military takes over a government, but also more importantly, this is a way that the Brazilian government is actually set up to run and operate. As these protesters are calling for the military to intervene here, will they? Well, that's a larger question that I think a lot of people are asking themselves, as of course this instability, along with larger financial instability, is going to create some very interesting times for the people of Brazil, as Al Jazeera is reporting that Lula, the president of Brazil for the third time, is facing some significant economic problems. It's also important to note here that Lula is a member of the World Economic Forum and probably will be implementing the same policies that Sri Lanka did, and we have seen what happened to Sri Lanka because of that. Now, what is happening with Jair Bolsonaro? Well, he's been seen hanging around Publix and KFC in Orlando, Florida. This, as we also just got the news that he was just admitted to a hospital inside of the United States because of some serious stomach pains. What's happening here? Well, only time will tell. Will the military intervene in Brazil? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys actively watching and sharing these videos, and this is why. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video right now on lukeuncensored.com. See you there.